Hello, my dear pile number 2. This is your reading. If you chose the Tea Leaf Oracle pile number 2, 4-hour messages from the Archangel, pick a card. The vibe for this reading, the vibe I'm channeling, the energy I'm channeling is already very different than what I was channeling and tapping into for pile 1. And another difference that's coming through is that I'm being guided not to start with the Tea Leaf Oracle, but to bring those in later and to start with the Light Seer's Tarot. So I'm starting to shuffle the tarot now. This card just jumped out. 3 of Cups. In reverse though, but 3 of Cups. Friendship, unity, communion, grace. We have the Big Dipper in the sky here. Or you could potentially interpret that as other constellations. I certainly don't know all my constellations. There's play, and there's also the sacredness of friendship in 3 of Cups. It's an energy of having people to celebrate together, but this particular card and the vibe I'm getting right now is having people you can be in hushed awe and reverence with, people you can watch the stars and feel the togetherness and the unity and the connection in that moment of together, having your breath taken away. Take me into this feeling more, Spirit, because there's a lot more to it than what I'm saying. And I know not everything can be summed up in words, but I want to make it as accurate as possible. 5 of Wands also in reverse. This is really fascinating as well, because the 5 of Wands is generally a conflict card, but sometimes can involve more working together and just the struggles, you know, the challenges of resolving differences of opinion that come with working together, but it doesn't necessarily bode that they won't work out when it comes up in that regard. And there's definitely a feeling of these folks working together here. I'm getting a feeling, I'm not sure what this is supposed to convey, but I'm getting from the energy that I'm having channeled through me by our spirit guides, by our angels and archangels, this feeling of the people working together to save their structure, their sacred structure, because of the way it's decorated, from being burned, from fire, from destruction by fire. Let me back into that feeling with the 3 of Cups reversed, Spirit, angels, archangels, spirit guides. There's a sacredness when we come to meet and greet the holiness within ourselves and within the universe in solitude that is magnified when we come to meet that which is sacred, the holy, the divine, with others. And there's a type of intimacy, a level, a depth of intimacy that is achieved or gained by having that experience with others. And we have the 3 of Cups reversed. There's a message about that level of intimacy feeling blocked off in some way. And then we have, yes, the willingness to save what is sacred from the fire also being in reverse, blocked off in some way. Okay. So maybe that's a frustration that this pile has been having, that this reading is going to have some messages about. I'm being guided to leave this upright even though it came out in reverse. It's like the desire to flip that energy upright and to have that connection, that awe, that intimacy in your life. If we have the back of the heart center bare on these 2 individuals, it's like that ability to be vulnerable and to have your hearts open, as their posture is, with a group of close, trusted people, an inner circle, because the 3 of Cups and the 5 of Wands, these are not necessarily huge groups of people working together. The 5 of Wands could be, but the 3 of Cups is an intimate group of friends. And in depending on the context of reading, of the individual reading, it could come out in a context where that small group is celebrating openly with a whole horde of others, but a whole throng, a crowd. But that's not the energy here right now. In fact, the energy of this reading is kind of like a spirit guide, an angelic spirit guide, leaning in close and like whispering, like, come closer. I have things to impart to you. Come closer so that you can hear, so that you can feel, so that I can place my hands on your shoulders and transmit my wisdom to you. That's the energy I'm getting from the particular angelic spirit guide that is channeling through me today. Thank you, spirit guides. Okay. I have another card here, the Four of Pentacles. This eyes closed, meditative, inward-looking posture is what I'm getting from this card right off, and the protectiveness of the resources. Again, protecting that which is sacred. There are things more important than money, I just heard. Okay, help me settle into this energy, spirit. Because this energy really wants to be channeled in an undiluted way, rather than me putting my own words on it, channeling as clearly, as crystal clear as possible. And every reading is different. Sometimes they're more a conversation with spirit guides, sometimes more of my own analysis is involved, and sometimes it's really raw channeling, and that's what is being asked for today. And so they're saying there are things more important than money. It's that which is sacred to you, which you need to preserve, with this Four of Pentacles energy. And this reading is calling you into stillness and into an inward looking posture, not focused outward on the scenery or the sky or the city, but inward, to behold that which is sacred within you and that which is sacred to you, so that you can then prioritize it. And there are things more than important than money. You're drawing me back to that sentence saying it can be easy to write that off as a trite, meaningless sentiment. You know, a cheesy greeting card sentiment. And they really want you to get that in your bones. There are things more important than money. Because your true abundance, your true sense of prosperity and security is coming from the things that are deeper and more sacred, or should be coming, it has the potential to come from the things that are deeper and more sacred than money. And money, for this pile, should be seen as a tool to enable that relationship with yourself and with life, where the sacred is prioritized above all else. Love, honor, truth, worship, the divine are prioritized above all else. And love is the first on that list for a reason, this connection with yourself and others. I'm almost being moved to tears here by this feeling, this connection between yourself and others. Love is the first on that list for a reason. It is the most sacred, the most important, the highest priority in all its forms. And you have within you a crystal clear love that can permeate, can be the same form regardless of which permutation it shows up in different relationships, regardless of how it manifests on different days and in different moments and in different interactions and transactions. This crystallized love, heart energy, this crystalline divine love, fire energy, you can infuse into all of your life. And the security, the protection, the preservation, the abundance of that That's your security, that's your prosperity, that's your wealth. And money should be put in its rightful place as less important, less a priority than that, and a priority for the sake of enabling and serving that, rather than it being put on a pedestal or an altar of its own, rather than it being worshipped as a false god or a false idol. It should be put in its rightful place. The flow of it should be opened up and magnified, but not for its own sake, for the sake of serving this divine purpose. So fascinating. There's this connection between money and love, passion, purpose, intimacy. Okay, so the spirit guide is saying they're not drawing a connection directly between money and intimacy here. They're drawing a connection between that love that we were talking about, that divine, crystalline, pure love. They're showing it to me as crystalline because it's this pure, like liquid light energy that is the essence of who you are, the core of you. That is what you should define yourself by. And that is the center of the wheel of your life, and everything else is spokes radiating out from that center. And so everything else in your life is organized around that. You only understand the right and proper and correct place in your life for everything else in your life when you organize those things around the center of that divine love. And so money is one of those things. If you try to center your life around money, your life is not going to make sense, and it's not going to feel good to you, and things are going to fall apart because the center cannot hold. If they tell it, she's quoting to me, the spirit guide, she's quoting to me that poem, "Things fall apart, the center cannot hold," but I don't know the rest of that poem. I want to say it's a Yeats poem. I know it because it's what the book Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe is named after. But it's not the book that this guide is referencing, it's the poem. So the center cannot hold if it's not placed, if the rightful thing is not placed in the center. If that love is shoved to the side, it cannot hold the web of your life in place. It needs to be prioritized, put front and center, honored correctly. It needs to be, what your day is. It's like the first thing you think of in the morning that then casts the rest of your day in a divine, nourishing light that makes the rest of your day make sense. Your actions make sense when they're aligned with your true motivation. And your true motivation, if this pile is for you, is this divine love. So nothing else in your life is going to make sense or feel right to you or feel like it's running smoothly if you're not able to align your whole being into those actions, those daily routines, those rituals, those patterns, those behaviors, those choices, with your whole being behind them, because they are backed by your true motivation, your true purpose, your divine mission, which is this love that you embody. Whether you relate to it as a divine mission or whether you just relate to it as, love is a higher calling, love is a higher law, like the song says. Of course, how could anything else be more important? Because that is, and of course, even if it is sometimes forgotten, that is, and of course, for the people in this pile. So if none of that is resonating for you, then this may not be your pile, but this guide is saying, no, the right people have come here. The right people have come here. Yeah, they're drawing me to the skirts in this Three of Cups card, because although they appear to be in this moment of stillness and of slowly walking forward away from the viewer, they're also in a pose where they could be about to dance or twirl. They look like they're just holding their skirts up off the ground so that they don't get tangled in the long grasses, the tall grasses, but they also look like they could be about to spin and twirl. And there's this connection there between that and the symbol and the tattoo there, and that sense of the wheel of your life needing to be organized around the center point, and then everything can spin effortlessly and be locked into place, because that trifold symbol is very much can be used as a seal in that way. And also that Five of Wands, regardless of whether it's a conflict card or a cooperation card, it's a card of things being in disarray and needing to be brought back into order. The wands are, in every depiction I've ever seen of the Five of Wands, crisscrossing and all out of order, and there's no rhyme or reason to why they are, how they have fallen, and they need to be arranged, stacked, for whatever purpose they are meant to serve. That arrangement will be different. Are they building something? Are they being stored for later use as firewood? Whatever it is. Are they being erected as a sacred monument? Which these totem poles look like maybe they should be doing. Maybe a reason for this sort of storyline will come up again later, but the spirit guide is giving me the storyline of these being sacred totem poles that were arranged in a divine order and then were toppled, and these individuals are being called to work together to save them from the fire, and put them back in their proper place. Okay, so there's the microcosm of your life needing to be subtly rearranged so that everything is in its proper place, oriented around the center of divine love. And there's a two-way street here. It's both that everything else in your life is like sunflowers turning their heads to face the sun of that divine love, both within you and that you tap into from source, which are one and the same because you are part of source. And in the other direction, that everything else in your life is flowing out from you, from the divine love at the center of you. That is what is feeding. It's like the river that is feeding into all of the choices that you make in life. And because that divine love comes from source, that is what is going to enable you to feed so many tributaries in life. Because you have an infinite well to draw upon. It is not merely by your own power as an individual that you are being called to feed into all these spokes of your wheel, all the webs of your life, all the tributaries of your river. And forgive me if I'm using the wrong word. I don't know if tributary implies a direction of flow that's into the bigger river or away from, and I could be using the wrong word. But all those streams that make up your life are being fed by this river that comes from an infinite source. And this Four of Pentacles is pointing out with that earthy element, that tangible protecting of this crystallization of divine love. It's not just some sort of airy, ethereal concept. It's not just some sort of esoteric concept, this love. It is a real, tangible thing, and it is made even more real and tangible by you embodying it, and by you embodying it actively with every single choice you make throughout the day, every single interaction you have. That every time you make a choice that is actually made from that place of being centered and rooted in divine love, it actually adds more of that divine love to the world. It actually makes real and tangible and manifest more of that divine love, because it is infinite. And so much of our current world feels cut off from it. So that brings me full circle back to what I was about to say about that, the macrocosm. The microcosm is your life. And this guidance can powerfully impact your life, can really change your life. It can change the course of your whole life's path to orient all of your choices around this center, this North Star. We have the stars here. And the North Star, I don't know if it's depicted there or if it's supposed to be a specific constellation, but that's the microcosm. And then the macrocosm is this being the state of the world right now, that we have this world. We, as a late generation of humans, have been born into this world that was once divinely set up to fulfill a specific divine purpose. And it has been, the setup that was intended for that purpose has been assaulted, attacked, toppled, and many forces are trying to set flame to it, including forces that would say money is more important than people. And all of this is being channeled, just to reiterate, very little of this is my spin going on this. This is what is being channeled from this guide. So, and this divine setup that this guide is saying, they want me to clarify, they're not referring to any sort of argument between natural selection and creationism or anything like that. They're referring to something that's actually more ancient and more innate than either of those lenses allows the eye to see. The essence of the world, of the universe or multiverse of source, that everything in existence, in creation, is endowed with and imbued with a divine signature of source. Everything is a fractal, a fragment of source. So it doesn't really matter for the purposes of this reading whether you look at things through a lens of evolution or any other lens. That's really not the point. The point is that the setup of this planet was, just like everything else and just like everyone on it, imbued with this divine signature, this divine essence. And because of their own agendas, many forces have set about interfering with that divine agenda, that purpose that this planet's setup originally had, and then later on down the line humanity's. Or rather, later on down the line humanity was a part of that. That design, not only for this planet, but for this galaxy. And so you embodying this divine love actually makes more of a difference, has more of a ripple effect, a butterfly effect, than your mind is actually capable of fathoming in the bigger picture, the macrocosm of the world, humanity, and the universe. Turning this Five of Wands energy around from conflict that would allow this fire to come in and burn down the sacred structures, to cooperation that would allow us to work together to actually save that which is sacred to us from the fires of destruction. I know that was a little wordy and long-winded, so I hope the essence of the point came through. And I thank this spirit guide for channeling that beautiful message through. Because if you were called to this reading, then you clearly have this divine truth about you, this fire under your butt, this reason for being here. It's so much more than just the rat race. And you want that from your relationships with people, and you want that from your relationships with the things you do, regardless of whether those things are done as part of bringing in income or as passion projects and hobbies and volunteer work and so on and so forth. You are someone who wants that relationship, that intimacy, that fire, that divine spark and love in all of those relationships. You want that relationship with the land you live on. You want that relationship with the buildings and gardens you tend to. You want that relationship with the relationships, the people, the animals, the plants you tend to. And you want to be tended to in the same way, where you and the people in your life are respecting the divinity within each other and honoring it and feeding it and protecting it, reinforcing it with and for each other as an interlocked team. There is, in this chaotic sense of the Five of Wands here, this chaotic arrangement or disarrangement, disarray of the wands, despite the chaos of it, there is a powerful interlocking of the wands that does emphasize the cooperation needed. If these are as large in scale as they appear compared to the people, the individuals, unless they're hollow and extremely lightweight, then one person can't actually separate these interlocked pieces from the others. And then we have the interlocked trifold symbol here in the interlocked arms. Interdependence is the spirit of the day. It is what we need. And that is something that you respect and have a capacity, an ability. You have the ability to understand that on a deep and comprehensive level that evades a lot of humans these days, because we're so locked in zero-sum games with each other, and by zero-sum game I mean the belief that the outcome of a situation has to mean one person winning and the other losing, whereas love and interdependence require that we open our eyes to see that we can come up with solutions where everyone wins, because we do live in an infinite universe, and yet we also live on a planet with finite resources, and so there is no such thing as one party winning if the others lose. We're in a closed system, so if something gets tanked, the rest is gonna fall down with it. The fire will catch. The fire is catching. That was a little bit of a tangent, though, and the spirit guide is bringing me back to the message, which was just the interlocking. And you're looking around at the world right now, at your life right now, seeing a deficit, a dearth of people and beings who are on the same page as you and who are willing to join hands and interlock and participate by their free will choice in interdependence. Everyone is part of it and participating in it. You can't actually be independent in this world. You require other beings, including other humans, for your food, for your shelter, for everything. But you are looking around hungry for the intimacy that comes from actually choosing to participate in interdependence, in cooperation, in working together. And you're feeling, with the Three of Cups coming out reversed and that Five of Wands reversed energy, you're feeling the deficit of that. What are you saying about that, Spirit? They are giving me a message that this centering your life around that divine love is a key that unlocks all sectors of your life, including relationships, because the universe, given the law of mirroring, also known as the law of attraction, cannot help but bring other people who are also that aligned and on fire for love and life and unity and liberation, because we can only be liberated when we liberate ourselves and each other together. We can only be saved when we save ourselves and each other together. The universe cannot help but bring those people to you if you are fully committed to embodying that energy and you let go of inhibitions around embodying that energy, and let go of scarcity fears, lack mentalities that keep you maybe potentially thinking, oh, but I'm supposed to. All these forces are telling me I'm supposed to put, income at the center of my life, that's the stability that I require, and I have to handle that first, and then I can, prioritize passion and love and divine purpose. No, that's all backwards. It might be the loudest voices all around us right now, the brightest signs, the neon lights. They might claim that that's the only version of power that matters, and we might be in a phase of humanity where they're really good at making it look like that's the case, but it's not. That's smoke and mirrors and illusions. This guide is saying when they make it look like they have real power because they have the influence of, she's actually referring to money as fake, which is hilarious. She's saying because they have the influence of this fake money, this fake, she's almost saying fake gold, but she's calling that power fake is the point. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's all a house of cards. She's actually pointing back at the Five of Wands, and she's saying you are actually going to be amazed at how fast these people's house of cards topples. And I think that's the strongest like future prediction I've probably ever gotten from a spirit guide in a collective reading. She's saying, just watch, you are going to be amazed how fast the houses of cards of the wealthy and influential fall and burn, topple and burn. And that's not the main point, though. She's saying that to convey that that's not real power, and that you actually have real power, love, that connection to source. That's the infinite. There's a reason all these Christian songs say things about, I can't lose if God is on my side. Nothing can be against me and win if God is for me, if my God is for me, because that's a loose paraphrase of a song called God is For Us. But there are lots of Christian sentiments, and probably sentiments from other religions that I just happen not to be as familiar with, that iterate and reiterate that the infinity of God, the universe source, is the only real power. It's the only real wealth and abundance. The infinity of love, because it's the only thing that is truly infinite and boundless. So how can you possibly say that anything is more powerful than that? So don't fall for the illusions. Come back to the reality, this tangible crystallization of divine love, of source that you are, and that you magnify and bring into the world. It flows through you and into everything you touch if you let it, if you choose to make all your choices, all your actions about that center come from or be rooted in that center, that motivation, that reason. If that is your reason for doing something, that divine love, then that energy of source love is going to be poured into you doing that. And you can't fake that. Someone who tries to say that but doesn't really know how to mean it is going to end up pouring a very different energy into what they're doing. Ask me how I know. So you can't fake that. And you may catch yourself at many times, and you may have caught yourself already at many times throughout your journey, and you will continue to catch yourself attempting to put that intention into something, but being really caught up in an emotion or a moment and needing to, have some catharsis, have some release, have some purging, some mending, before you're able to really feel that flow again. But the more you keep coming back to that anchor and that touchstone, the more it will work, the easier it will snap into place, and the easier everything else will click into place around it every single time that you keep coming back and choosing over and over again to reorient your life around it. Because it isn't a one and done choice. It is an every single day, every single moment of the day type of thing, because we're constantly making choices, and it's making those choices from the roots, the center, the reason, the motivation of that divine purpose, that source love, that makes everything click into place and keeps it flowing smoothly. They're showing me someone's chakras slowly becoming, well, not necessarily slowly, but parts of it may feel slow, but becoming realigned as they do this over the course of, a week or a year, and them coming back into alignment every time you catch yourself making a choice out of fear, for example, or out of peer pressure, and then going, wait a second, that's not really what I want. I'm going to back out of what I chose a minute ago and reorient myself and choose something different. Every time you do that, every time you choose what is true to you, they keep on coming back to divine truth. Truth is another way to call, another thing you could call what is at the center of you. And that may speak more to you. It may speak more to some of you, or feel more solid and tangible and less etheric than the concept of love. You may not have in your body as strong of a sense of what love is or what source is as you do of what truth is. So come back to truth if that is easier for you, or when that is making more sense for you, because regardless of whether you have that feeling in your body of love and of source or not, there are going to be different situations where what's most loving and what's most aligned is to really laser in on truth, or other situations where the version of this love is kindness or respect or just simply love or integrity. There are different manifestations of this love in different situations. So your watchword might not be the same all the time, but it's coming from the same essence, the same place, the same vibration. While I was speaking that monologue, the spirit guide was also working with me to move a blockage through the back of my heart center, which is interesting because we were talking about the back of the heart center on these figures before. And the energy of that circulation and healing may also be coming through to, she's saying is coming through to all of you, not may just be coming through to some of you, but is coming through to all of you who are listening to this as well. That energy healing is being applied simply by you listening and being willing to receive it. So thank you, Spirit Guide. And she's drawing me to the tea leaf oracle now. This deck is massive. So Spirit, help me shuffle it the way that I need to bring your messages through. She's also pointing out that the Four of Pentacles is a card of strong foundations. That is what you're doing, is building a foundation for your life, pouring a foundation and building the rest of your life on top of it. That is just as accurate as that center of the wheel and the spokes of the wheel thing. You're laying the foundation so that the rest of your life can be a solid foundation. And that's another reason the Five of Wands energy applies, because this type of disarray is not a solid foundation. This is a house of cards. A stiff wind can blow it over, right? She's reminding me of the Three Little Pigs fable, and she's saying building on a solid foundation will protect you from all manner of devils and enemies. You cannot underestimate it, and you cannot replace it, is what she's saying. There's no substitute for a strong foundation, a solid core. And you cannot fathom or count or enumerate how many forces that would try to work against you that will protect you from, to have that solid foundation or core. It may seem so simple, but it is the most crucial thing you can do for yourself, the most important thing you can do for yourself. And also, by extension, for the world, as we're talking about the macrocosm reflecting and being affected by the microcosm within. Do not underestimate that, the power that you hold in aligning with, in setting, building on, and aligning with your foundation. It is immense. Wealth. She drew me to this Astral House card, and we have wealth here, and this is really driving home that message about what true wealth is. She is really calling you, if you're in this pile, to redefine wealth for yourself, to recenter your concepts of and associations with wealth around this divine wealth, this divine infinity. Like, look at the treasure that you are and that you have within you and all around you in the world, in the form of that which is sacred, in the form of all the divinities in the world. Think of all the, what is it that's sacred to you? Think about that. And maybe it's flowers, maybe it's puppies and kittens, maybe it's the love within you. Think about these things that are pure and that are concentrated versions of source's light, love, and truth, she's saying. And this is kind of an energy work that she's doing, but she's asking you to rearrange your ways of thinking, rearrange your thoughts, and therefore your core beliefs around this new energy. And she's asking for you to, with your mind, participate in the energy work that she is doing with us and in us right now, to offer you a life where, instead of wealth seeming like something that's out of reach, something that's elite or elitist, something that's external, it's something that's within, and that actually, she's drawing our attention to this. She's drawing my attention away from, she's saying that something that's within was a little bit of a false dichotomy. It's not really about it being within or without. It's about the fact that it's both, and there's no boundary between the two when it comes to what true wealth is. Because true wealth is true divinity. Like I said, source's light, love, and truth, and that is equally within you and without you. So it's not about that boundary. She was drawing my attention, and I misphrased it because I hadn't gotten the full image from her yet. She was drawing my attention to how so many people, like, this is a really incredibly pervasive mentality among humans at this time. So many people, entire cultures, entire structures of these houses of cards, the so-called wealthy and influential, are papering over everything, she's saying. This is coming from her. Are really built on they're built on a false divide. They're built on seeing themselves as different than the poor. They're built on seeing themselves as having an innate worth that the poor somehow don't have. And true wealth, it's actually impossible. You know how she was saying a few minutes ago that it's actually not possible for beings in this universe to be cut off from source's light, love, and truth. Even though so many people don't actually feel consciously their access to it, their connection to it, it's still not actually possible for people to be cut off from it. That's what she's saying here, she's applying it to a different sort of kaleidoscope here, where actually the true wealth, the same amount of it is present in the poorest person and the richest person. But actually the richest people, if they buy into this elitist paradigm of this false divide where they don't think the poor have any worth and they think they somehow have that worth, they've actually tarnished their own divine light, love, and truth. They've actually withheld themselves from participating in divine love and in interdependence and the interconnection of all things, which is love and divine source and divinity. And that connection between all things is where and how we tap into the infinite. By placing ourselves in the web of life, we feel our connection to the infinite, and that's the true wealth. And so that's the complete opposite of this construct of wealth, this papered over house of cards of wealth. She's likening it to them papering over a moldy wall, the so-called elites. That concept, that construct that they have is so completely an inversion and perversion of the reality that the true wealth is this golden connection, this golden web of life that connects all beings, and which all beings have equal access to and equal worth as part of. There are many ways in which people are actually, better at things than others and superior in some area to another person. They have more excellence, more skill, more potential in a specific area than another person does because they came into this life to specialize in something and this other person came in to specialize in something else. So everyone is not equal in every context, but in this, the most important and most central and core of all contexts, this wealth, this is worth, and it's equal among all. Interestingly, ever since I started doing collective readings, I've been drawn to look at the Pentacle suit as not only relating to material wealth, but to self-worth. And this is really enforcing that connection for me. So can you tell me, Spirit, you're really conveying the passion of this message, but I feel like there's a point that I'm still missing. I've conveyed some points, but I feel like there's a point that you're trying to get across that I'm still missing, or I'm just getting lost in the fervor of like, oh my God, you have to understand. So what is it that I'm missing? Or am I missing anything? Okay, she's saying I'm not missing anything. Okay, she's saying I do just get a little caught up in the fervor of trying to explain things in a way that is understandable and kind of wanting to shake people's shoulders and make them understand when all I can do is lay out the facts and the truth for them. So thank you for reassuring me that I was getting the correct points across and for pulling me back from the ledge of thinking that I need to convince people. More tea leaf cards. Okay. I need a better way to shuffle these. Yeah, she's drawing me to the way wealth is raining down in that tea leaf card. And drawing me back to that connection of the infinity of source being the true abundance of the universe. That true wealth is always raining down on everyone. It's always as available to everyone as that. And yes, this brings us back to that connection of like, yes, it's important to open up the flow of financial energy in your life, and that doing that can only happen when the financial flow is put in its proper place, when the pipes are hooked up correctly. But she's saying that opening yourself to the wealth, the flow of infinite source energy automatically taps you more into a more abundant, magnified flow of all energies that are part of that flow, and that includes that of financial wealth. This energy is not of like abnegation and going without. It's an energy of being able to manifest and get everything you want, but because you are actually oriented around that which is more important than the material. Yeah, she's saying your souls, I want to make sure I get this right, but she's saying your souls are too wise, too old and wise to opt into the same illusions that these fools who opt into this elitist narrative are playing out in their play acting. Your souls chose coming into this life, knew coming into this life how important it was not to get caught in the trap that those rat races are setting, and chose to make sure that opening the flow of wealth for you as a human would go hand in hand with opening the flow of connection to the web of life, to divine source, to interdependence and intimacy. So those two can't be separated for you, because that's a choice your soul made very wisely when coming into this, because it becomes very easy to succumb to the false gods, the false idols of living your life for empty versions of wealth. Spending your whole life making money and then having no love in your life, having nothing real and substantive to show for it. You know what I mean? Okay. Camel, persevere and you will overcome problems. Okay, that's a good continuation of what I was just saying. Because we were talking at the very beginning about feeling a block to the finances and to the relationships that you want. And she's explaining that it's actually a really, really good thing that your soul chose to enact this life in this way, where your financial wealth and your spiritual wealth are inextricably linked, because it does protect you, just like this Four of Pentacles is protecting that which is sacred to them, and hopefully these other figures are too. It protects you from wasting your life on empty pursuits and draining yourself for the sake of things that do not give back and that have nothing to do with the web of life and the web of source and that infinite well from which you draw, and have nothing to do with the things that you really care about, that are really sacred to you because they matter to you. Mice, discord among friends or family. That's interesting with the Five of Wands and the Three of Cups, the friendship card here. Lobster, financial pinch. These are really confirming what we've been talking about. September, okay. What's the significance of that? Spirit, what's the significance of that? So persevere and you will overcome problems. I was guided to place that above the lobster without even thinking about the meanings of them, but they are saying that that is an assurance that this financial pinch is not forever. It's not going to bring you down in a lastingly harmful way. This is not ruining your life, the financial pinch that you are experiencing currently. The camel has everything it needs to get through the desert because it was able to store the water first, and you are the same way. You have this wealth within you that is empowering you to get through the temporary desert to the promised land, to the oasis. Nice, discord among friends or family. Protect your energy, protect your spiritual wealth from the things that would try to gnaw at it and that would try to chew through your connection to spirit, to the infinite and the divine. That's what you really need to protect yourself from, they're saying. It's not really, you're not in a position where you need to be making big money moves or making big changes to your money. If you know that you've been having certain behaviors that are really destructive to your ability to save, this doesn't negate that, but it does indicate that protecting your energy and reorienting your life around the center of what you love and what is sacred to you, and treating yourself and the people in your life that way as sacred, is what will protect you from those behaviors, those choices, and the people or energies that might feed into them or feed on you. And similarly, setting that standard for yourself that I'm going to choose to relate with people who also treat me as sacred the same way I treat myself and treat them as sacred and treat all that is in my life, so that you can kind of cut out the metaphorical mice from your life that might just kind of come into your house to steal food and wreak havoc and not give anything back, that only value you for what you have to offer them and not as a whole person. Of course, you want to be valued for, I think in general, we all want to be valued for certain things that we have to offer, but to be treated as only what you have to offer instead of as a whole person who also has things to offer is very disrespectful, and not part of the integrity and divinity and love that this pile is embodying. And so setting that standard that you are going to be respected as a whole person by the people that you allow in your inner circle is going to protect you from discord among friends or family, from friends or family who might create discord in your life and not be aligned with your peace. Protect your peace. Enforce your boundaries. September. I am getting an energy with the September card of the leaves falling away so that the spring can come. If the leaves didn't fall in the fall, then the new spring blooms would not actually have anywhere to grow. They wouldn't have anywhere to go. They wouldn't be able to. So this is referring to both the pruning of relationships and behaviors and things, habits, hobbies, career paths in your life that are not aligned with your true foundation, your true core, that crystalline love, that don't emanate naturally from that. And it's also speaking to this financial pinch, this temporary desert being a winter that is necessary to allow the spring rains of wealth to come. And there are so many reasons why it might be necessary. For example, I'm getting an image of the bear hibernating in winter. So there may have been internal or spiritual or emotional processing that you needed a hibernatory period to complete. And if you hadn't been able to complete that, you would have been, haunted or hounded by these unprocessed ghosts of the past, and trying to move forward into the spring of your life and this abundant, inspired, passionate, wealthy period would have been like trying to walk forward with a ball and chain attached to you, It may also have been that you needed some introspection and some wake-up calls to be alerted to what needed to be pruned in terms of relationships, mindsets, with how the spirit guide has been deprogramming and reprogramming our mindset in this reading. And also relationships or career paths that you were trying to force but really were not sparking you the way you maybe hoped they would, or maybe you never did think they would actually spark any passion in you, but you thought it was worth it for the money, and you're questioning that now because of how it's been affecting you as a whole person. You're realizing that you actually need to treat yourself as a whole person instead of thinking that you can put yourself as a person on the back burner while you make money. That doesn't really work for this pile. It may appear to work for other people, but I would question whether it does actually work for them, or whether you can only see the surface, 3 layers, and there might be 10 dozen layers beneath that where it's not working for them. But some people can fake it, just have a capacity to fake it, because that is the journey their soul is on, and you are on a different journey. You cannot fake it. That is what this spirit guide was saying before about your soul chose coming in to have your financial and spiritual wealth be interdependent on each other, and you can't fake it as a result. That might look for you like you burn out super quickly when your heart isn't in what you're doing, or it doesn't allow you to rest properly, or like I said, just treat you as a well-rounded whole person. Body, mind, heart, spirit, all need to be taken into account. So something that doesn't allow you to nourish and free and move your body is not going to work for you. Something that you find intellectually interesting but doesn't light up your spirit is not going to work for you. These things might be diversions temporarily. They might interest you, but they're not going to be sustainable for you. They're telling me there's another message from the September card. Okay, they're saying there is a literal timing message from the September card, but I'm not understanding what it is. What is the literal timing message that you have for us from the September card? Right now it's May, June, July, August, September. So we're looking at 4 to 5 months between now and September. So over the next 4 to 5 months, they're saying something is going to happen. What is that? I'm saying that for most of you, the next 4 to 5 months are kind of the extent of the financial pinch. They're not saying there's necessarily going to be an instant, windfall, in September at the end of the next 4 to 5 months, but that the worst of, the pinch or the debt or what have you will be firmly behind you after the next 4 to 5 months. Feel free to take timing with a grain of salt, take it or leave it according to what resonates with you, according to whether you feel that it's helpful for you. All of these messages are intended to be helpful, so if it's causing some kind of anxiety or mental pinch for you, then just leave it and take the parts that are helping. But that is the message that I'm getting from our spirit guides, and this specific spirit guide here is that the next 4 to 5 months will see you leaving behind truly the financial pinch. And they're saying that truly as like a permanent thing, that they're saying that you've seen cycles in your life of money ebbing and flowing, and that's always the case. Money is like an inhale and an exhale, an ebb and a flow of a tide. There's always inflow and outflow, but that these cycles that have these kind of more pinched periods, these more severe desert periods, are coming, they're drawing to an end as you really put into place a more aligned life for yourself, that you've experienced these cycles. Not because you did something wrong, but it's part of the process of learning what works for you in life to experience these cycles. They're not something that you did wrong. They're not something to be ashamed of. They're saying these cycles did not ruin your life. Debt doesn't ruin your life. If you die with debt that's not in anyone else's name, it's not ruining anyone else's life. You don't need to be ashamed of it. So that's another way in which they're saying to put money in its proper place. Stop letting it define you. You're not a successful person based on how much is in your bank account. You're a successful person based on how much you achieve that is meaningful to you, based on how well you were able to protect that which is sacred to you, based on how well that you were able to live out and express that which was meaningful for you into your life. How much you were able to embody and make real that crystalline love. How much of that were you able to pour into the world? How wide were you able to make your river? How many crops were you able to feed with that infinite love that you are tapped into? That integrity, honoring, respect, truth, and presence that is real and tangible. So put money in its proper place in that regard, instead of letting it define you or letting other people's beliefs about it define you in that way. It doesn't define your worth, like we were saying before about that false dichotomy. So these ebbs and flows that you have experienced, these cycles of tides you've experienced with money coming in, but then there being deserts as well, have just been part of your process. Don't make more of them than that. They don't mean that you're irresponsible or that you can't hold on to money. You're being asked, just like we were talking about deprogramming and reprogramming earlier, you're being given an opportunity to erase those thoughts about yourself, and replace them with this new view, this new concept and definition of what wealth is and what it's associated with. There's a Christian song, Be Thou My Vision, and it's a song that is kind of an ode to God, to Source, and it says, Thou mine inheritance now and always, riches I heed not, nor vain empty praise. So yes, money has an importance in life, but don't place it above the things that are actually above it. Revel in your true inheritance. The things that really get you through the storms with this camel, it has water and nutrients in its humps. It doesn't have money in there. That wouldn't help it survive the desert. That would just be a ball and chain holding it back as it tried to walk through the desert, actually, if it had a sack of gold on it. So notice that which really genuinely nourishes you, the love and intimacy in an inner circle, trust, the North Star, the inner light of your passions and your truths, your personal truths, your guiding lights. Notice what those are. Write them out if it helps you. Speak them out if it helps you. Maybe speak them out on a regular basis, where in the morning you have a mantra or a prayer or an intention you set, where you remind yourself of the personal truths that are your guiding lights that you live by. The passions, the things that light you up, the things you love, the things you consider sacred, the things you hold dear, and the things you're seeking to bring more of into your life because they really matter, not because they're status symbols or because they're these smoke and mirrors versions of power. And remind yourself that money matters in service to those things and not as its own thing. So yeah, the next 4 or 5 months is seeing a true end, a permanent, I'm being called not to say permanent end, but a true end to those cycles. So it's like those cycles are winding down, so they're getting smaller and smaller. So I think that's why they're saying not to say permanent end, because it's not like a full stop at the end of a sentence. It's not that abrupt. But the ebbs and flows and versions of that cycle that you've been in that you see in the future are going to be smaller as long as you are living this aligned life. They're not going to be this sort of roughshod ride, this big up and downs of a roller coaster, or at least life is always going to involve roller coasters, right? There's always going to be dramatic, unexpected things, but you'll have the sustenance and the camel hump that you need to withstand them. It won't feel like you're going through a desert and rationing your water. That's what I'm trying to get at. I said it won't rack you so hard. I hope that's making sense. They're telling me that I've said it enough different ways that it will land correctly with the people it needs to land with, so I don't need to keep trying to find other ways to say it, which I sometimes do when I'm worried I haven't been clear enough. Okay. They're drawing me to the Frequency Tarot. Let's see what we have here. How are you wanting to round out this message for pile 2? Spirit guides, angels, archangels, angelic guides. How are you wanting to round out this message for pile 2? Inception, number 45. I like this new spring growth energy here. Let's see. This has some color matching with the Four of Pentacles here, and we were talking about the Four of Pentacles representing a solid foundation, the inception of something new, around which something new is born and organized. Yeah, in this whole reading we've been talking about rooting yourself into something that allows you to grow taller, organizing your life around something that makes new life available to grow, that radiates through the new life. 45, Inception. If you've drawn this card upright, the struggle you are currently facing finds its roots in your childhood. You may be telling yourself that your pain is because of something that's happening now, like a breakup or a lack of money or a loss that you have suffered. But really, this current event is just a reflection of an unresolved wound in your childhood. The time has come for integration. It's time to do some inner child work. Okay, and what I'm getting from the specific spirit guides we're working with at the moment is that some of you are attributing or falsely attributing some of the pain in your life at present to a lack of money, and that's why you keep on saying, yeah, I have to keep striving. I can't listen to the nudges of spirit and my intuition and my heart. I have to keep striving because I won't feel better until I get this into place. And that's actually not the case. You're being called to use whatever modalities work for you, whatever therapies work for you, whatever meditations work for you, to bring this healing to the inner child emotional wounds. I'm being told to mention the book The Emotion Code if some of you are looking for new tools for working with releasing and purging emotions and understanding them. The Emotion Code or the Neuro-Emotional Technique may work well for you. But that shadow work to heal what is truly ailing you, what is truly causing you pain, like you're being told really firmly, like it's not the money. It's not the money. It's like someone keeps on going, no, I have to look at this, I have to focus on this, and the spirit guide is gently taking your face between their hands and pointing it towards your inner child and saying, it's not the money. Drop that focus. Look away from that. Focus on your heart. Focus on your inner child. Tend to them as if they are a living, breathing child in front of you, because they are. They're within you and they might be invisible to you, but they still are living and breathing within you, in front of you, all around you, affecting your life. Their pain is real. It's your pain. Your inner child's pain is your pain, and it's real. So tend to it like the emergency it is, and instead of trying to find something you can grasp to make sense of it, simply ask the pain for help understanding what it needs. And let your intuition lead you, let your heart guide you. Let your inner child tell you directly what they need. Okay, they're saying we don't need to say anything else about that, but these frequency paintings that the artist used to make this frequency tarot deck are intended to spark your vibration, to entrain with them in a way that is helpful for you. So you may find that spending some time with this painting, with this image, this frequency actually helps bring to the surface, the thorns that are trying to come out, or the messages that your inner child is trying to convey to you, and helps make them clearer to you and easier for you to decipher, less clouded and obscured and less up to interpretation. And they're drawing me back to the mice card with this as well. This is so important because your microcosm with this Five of Wands and this mice energy is the health of that ecosystem of your internal microcosm is determined by how at peace the different parts of yourself are with each other. So when you leave screaming inner children untended, there's going to be discord among your inner mice, so to speak, your inner friends and family, the parts of you. And it's important to value yourself, see your worth, see your sacredness, care about how you feel enough to tend to your screaming inner children's pain like it's an emergency, because it is. We often really scoff in a very harmful, damaging way at viewing emotions that way, as serious as they are. And it's time for that to end. And you being someone who tends to your own emotions and that of your inner circle with that level of respect is part of creating a safer world for everyone. The more people we have who do that, the more safe the world is for everyone's emotions, little by little, drip by drop. And that bigger picture doesn't have to be your motivation when you're going and tending to a specific inner child. It's enough to simply hear the child scream from the other room and come running to say, what is wrong? What is it that you need? Are you okay? And listen to them. Scream into a pillow if you have to, by the way. Okay, they're drawing me to another frequency tarot card. Beginnings. This is such a perfect synchronicity, inception and beginnings together. They're saying you're going to be amazed at what new is born from you actually tending to the inner children that you have maybe been scared to approach or have maybe been ignoring and accidentally, completely unwittingly or unintentionally ascribing their pain to your current sense of a lack of wealth. 77 may be a prominent angel number for some of you. They're saying to use lucky number 7. Some of you are being called to use lucky number 7 in manifestation. And that is a message that's not for me. That's for some of you specifically. A lot of messages that I pull for the collective are also apply to me, right? But that one is definitely for some of you. And they're saying you'll know if that applies to you, how to apply it, whether it's that you use 7 crystals or light a candle for 7 minutes, or write an affirmation 7 times. For some of you, that connection to the number 7 is incredibly prominent and powerful, fascinatingly. 7 chakras, they're saying, but they're not saying why. 7 colors in the rainbow. Okay. Let's see what the deck description book says about beginnings. Oh, they're calling me back to that sense of a spring in your life coming after the next 4 or 5 months, which is funny. In the northern hemisphere, we're kind of at the end of spring now, and or in the middle of spring, depending on where in the northern hemisphere, and we'll be entering fall in September, but you might be in the southern hemisphere where it will actually externally be spring as well in September. But they are saying it's kind of a pruning period right now, and the spring in your life will be coming in the next 4 or 5 months, and they're drawing me back to that with the beginnings as well. Yeah, that turning inward with the Four of Pentacles is kind of, they're guiding you to nest in preparation for the spring of your life. Tending to yourself within, tending to your living space, your relationships, you know, your plants, your animals, your people, to prepare for the spring in your life and then ultimately the harvest. And to appreciate this time in your life rather than thinking that the only point of life is the harvest. Give respect where it's due to all the different phases of your life. They serve a lot more purposes than solely being one rung in the ladder up to the harvest. So ask if there's a lot of value to this period in my life besides just what it's leading to next. What is it? What is it that I can appreciate about this, and what is it that I'm getting out of this and learning from this and gaining from this and gaining in this right now? And maybe journal or just meditate or think or talk about the answers to that. And you might be surprised at how much wealth there is in that, as well as wisdom. Beginnings. Oh, I didn't realize until just now. The beginnings card is actually the final card in this deck, which I love because that's so full circle. If you have drawn this card upright, you are in alignment with the very energy that brings forth worlds. This card is all about birth and creation. Fertility is high at this time in your life, in all areas of your life. Create beauty in your life. Get in touch with your sensuality through taste, touch, sound, smell, and sight. I'm gonna put the description on screen for a moment so you can screenshot it if you'd like. Draw on these senses to experience pleasure and deep fulfillment. These experiences will help bring forth the new manifestations that will enhance your life experience. It's so funny because I was just talking about noticing the wealth you already have in this phase of your life, and this is really drawing you into mindfulness of the physical to have that experience. Lock it into your body of like, there's so much here already, and now actually I'm hearing that Lord line. I never watched the stars, there's so much down here. It's from Yellow Flicker Beat, the song she did for the first Hunger Games movie, or the second one. I'm a princess cut from marble smoother than the stone. And the scars that mark my body, they're silver and gold. My blood is a flood of rubies, precious stones. You can read those metaphors and those lyrics in all sorts of ways, with all sorts of different meanings or lack thereof, but they're drawing me to a new lens for me, on those lyrics of, you are the abundance. Your blood is worth more than rubies. It's your life force, your connection to the divine. And dive and delve into physical experiences to have an experience of richness tactilely, in a sight sense, all 5 senses. And that felt sense of wealth is your window into manifesting financial wealth, they're telling me, because it's a very Taurian Taurus type of wealth, where you feel rooted into your connection to your own life force and all life, and the physical experience of riches. That's your portal, your thing that you can meditate on to magnify yourself as a receiver of wealth. Really experiencing a sense of richness in the physical and in your mind, united. I hope I'm explaining that correctly. When I say that portal, I'm talking about how people are always saying like, oh, meditate on the visual and the feeling, the felt sense of the thing in order to bring that thing more into your life. And they're saying everyone has different portals into financial wealth based on what it means to them. And this is yours. a really grounded, tactile sense of richness in your life. And again, also combining that, it's like the double-edged sword. That's the literal, just open that door and focus on that to manifest it in. But the other edge of the sword is putting it in its proper place with a spiritually centered life. Okay. So draw on these senses to experience pleasure and deep fulfillment. These experiences will help bring forth the new manifestations that will enhance your life experience. Sometimes this card can't indicate actual pregnancy or birth. And the spirit guides I'm working with are calling on me to pause there and mention, for some of you, you've been wanting this, and this is a positive omen. You should take it as a positive omen that is in your future on this timeline. If you haven't been wanting that, or you're not currently wanting that, you should take this as a sign, as an omen to make sure that you are tightening your precautions against bringing in a pregnancy. These experiences will help bring forth, okay. Other times it can mean a metaphorical birth, such as the birth of a new idea, a product, or a new way of being. And a new way of being is what this reading has been all about. New ideas and projects will be implemented, resulting in the success of all your projects and interests. Yes, what were we talking about with the whole web and this being at the center of your web? This new way of being and thinking is what's going to light up the entire web from the center out, from the inside out. From the ground up. This foundation will support everything else and ultimately allow for much greater capacity for success in all areas. Bring forth those ideas that have been growing and developing inside of you. If you have drawn this card, it is a good idea to ground yourself and spend time in nature, reconnecting with the life force energy that surrounds you. Connect to the in-the-moment physical aspect of your existence. It is also a good time to be around babies and children, for they call up back to the essence of who and what we really are. Yeah, babies and children will, for some of you, help you participate in your inner child healing, because being around them will, of course, just help bring to the surface any thorns in your own inner children or in your relationship with your inner child. They also, being around babies and children really brings us as adults into the present moment, because the kids are typically so much more in the present moment, and we're typically really invested in being really present with the children and enjoying making memories with them and making sure that we're there for them and we're kind of on alert for whatever they need, attuned to whatever they need. Hopefully that's how we are with children. Not in a worrisome way, but in that just attuned, grounded, present way. And the fact that children can bring that invested attunement out at the same time as bringing out playfulness and a sense of adventure and fun is incredibly powerful. And a lot of this reading has been about like taking the things that are really sacred to you seriously. So this is a much needed reminder that it's also fun. You know, it's also an adventure to be on this roller coaster of this spiritual adventure that is life, that is your life. This mission that is your life is also fun. And that's also a really important part of it, and not to be made another chore. And that in the moment physical experience of like having fun and being present, that's part of that portal that we were talking about, and that sense of richness in life. And children just also help us really pare back all the illusions of, you know, elitism and other adult paradigms, and just really get back to the truth of things, which is a big component of that divinity of source that we've been talking about this whole time. Babies and children really help us get back in touch with what really matters to us and just the truth of things, instead of wasting time papering over it. If you have drawn this card, trying to hold back your creations will cause great pain. That goes hand in hand with the Inceptions thing. It is a time for new beginnings. It is a time for birth and rebirth. Let the new come into this world and see the light of day. Bring your ideas into fruition. Yeah, that's the note that our spirit guides are wanting to close on, is it will cause you so much pain to hold back what really matters to you, what you really want to bring into this world, what you really want to create in your relationships, in your career, in your art. So infuse, let that love, that crystalline love, drive you to pour into the world the things that you are really wanting to create. Let it permeate your life. These new beginnings are itching to come through you. So surrender to that. Instead of trying to control what you create, which constricts the flow of what wants to come through you, surrender to the things that want to come through you, as long as they are loving and truthful. And honor yourself and that which you are a vessel of equally. Let that which comes through you honor you, because by letting yourself be more and more of a vessel and channel for Source, you are honoring yourself and letting yourself receive that from Source, that love from Source, that honor from what it's trying to bring through you. In our world, service has been so demeaned that we actually see being a vessel as being less than, and that could not be farther from the truth. Being a channel or a vessel can actually exalt you. It can actually elevate you. And you are an active participator in the creation as well. You are not only a vessel or a channel, but it's no small thing to be a vessel or a channel. It's not something that makes you less than the recipients of what you're channeling, or the source that you are channeling from. It makes you an equally important part of the chain, a carrier of the torch. There's no more sacred calling, duty, or task. And you get to actively participate and infuse your own essence into it as well, and that is needed. The world needs that. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you sticking with me through the long haul of this reading and sticking with the universe to be part of what we are all creating together. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and week, and I'll see you in the next reading.